Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Nice to see you wherever you are. And we have had 4 great quarterfinals in the PDC World Cup of Darts. We're getting to the business end of the tournament. I said quarterfinals, I didn't mean that. Round of 16, this is the winner place in the quarterfinal. So there's 8 matches. We've already had 4, and there is 4 this evening. So what's going to happen is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the matches that happened this morning, and we'll have a little preview of this afternoon's games. So what happened? Some were close, some were as unclose as a match possibly can be, but they were all really entertaining. So having got up at 5:15 in the morning here, I still managed to miss the beginning of Ireland and Poland. The Poles had just got back to 5-5. Apparently they were 5-2 down, so they were, on the ascendancy. But from what I saw from that particular point onwards, Willie O'Connor was very, very steady. Mickey Mansell has just been incredibly steady. And the Poles, Białecki, young player, yes, he is up and coming. I've been bigging him up in my other vids. And I think he's going to be a great player in the future. He did just struggle a little bit with the scoring. They had a few chances to win a few legs at the end. They couldn't quite make it. But you know what? They averaged 91.71. The Irish averaged 92.21. So that's a kind of very, very professional singles average in a high-pressure doubles World Cup matchup. So the Irish ended up winning that 8-5 tremendous game, and they are going to be a handful. We'll see who they play in a bit. Following that game, it was Latvia-France. Both teams thinking that was a very, very solid draw. And as I said before, Northern Ireland and Belgium, who is going to play the winner of the Latvia-France game, they're thinking, man, we're going to get a team that we didn't expect to see in the quarterfinal. And that's going to make that Northern Ireland-Belgium clash tonight. Well, it was already going to be extremely exciting. It's going to be very, very, very exciting, knowing that they should probably get through their quarterfinal and into the semis where anything can happen. Anyway, the Latvia-France game was nip and tuck. France went out 2-0 quite quick, and they might have won the third leg. And you're thinking, well, this could run away. Thibault-Tricot had a good start. Thulier was a little bit irregular, as you're expecting from the junior partner in these slightly non-ultra pro teams, which is what happens in the World Cup. And this is really the last round, or if you get a good draw like Latvia did, the last round where these guys can really expect to be successful. It was nip and tuck. It went 2-2, 3-2, 4-2. We've seen France already come back from the dead. Yesterday, they were 3-0 down in their group game against Austria. They won 4-3, and they nearly did the same thing. But at the end, Madars Razmar, that quality comes through. We've seen this in a few matches where the top-ranked player just has that little something to hit that double, to hit that combination finish. And he did a great job, and they ended up winning that match 8-7. They will play the winners, as I say, of Northern Ireland, Belgium, which is happening this evening. And then, possibly, arguably, the best draw for any seed, Scotland drew Norway. And I was thinking it was going to be a quick game. I was thinking maximum 8-3, probably something like 8-2 or 8-1. This was over quickly. Gary Anderson was visit perfect at the end of legs for, I think, the first 6. Then he missed a double 12 or something. Kordecker had a couple of arrows at double 12. He nearly took out 160. So they did have a few chances. The partner struggled, which again is what happens when you don't have that very pro 2 team, you really start to struggle at this stage. Norway were totally overmatched. Gary Anderson finished amazingly. Cammy played really, really well. It was probably, there's always arguments for these kinds of things where you're saying, well, they weren't really tested. They've won 8-0. I didn't say the score. It was a sweep. It was a shutout. Scotland averaged 99. Norway averaged 83. That was largely a kind of scoring average. So they lost pretty badly. So there's arguments to say, hey, they didn't really get tested. You think England are going to have a tougher game against Spain, Netherlands are going to have a tougher game against Sweden, etc., etc. But in terms of getting on the stage, getting over those butterflies, and having really quite a fun time, Cameron in the interview afterwards, he's an emotional guy, and we love that. But Scotland have gone through, and they will meet Ireland. Willie O'Connor has been saying he thinks it's a little bit unfair that the seeds come in later in the tournament, and he's playing a seed now, so he'll get his wish of playing one of the top teams. Excuse me. In the final match of the morning, it was, thank you, Flora. It was Wales and he said Northern Ireland again. United States, Adam Savada and Stowe Bunce, the American pairing. Johnny Clayton, they would have been seeded third if Gerwyn Price had played. He didn't. Nick Kenny, tremendous player, already made big inroads in his first year on the tour this time round. So very, very able replacement, and they played very, very well. Again, the class really, really came through. The Americans hung tight. They had a couple of nice finishes to make it 1-1 and 2-2. And then they went down 3-2. The Wales had the throw. And then Johnny Clayton, again, this elite quality that they can just come up with a shot. It was a 1-4-1, 60, 57, 24, clean as a whistle to break and give them a little bit of daylight at 4-2. And they went ahead. They were 6-2 ahead, and were like, well, this is basically over. It was 5-2 at the break. They went 6-2 up. I was like, well, we're done. 6-3. 6-4. Ooh, tightening. Even Johnny was tightening up a wee bit. And 6-5. Stowe Bunce hit a couple of doubles. Like the first dart was awful. The second dart was awful. You think, oh, he's never going to get it. He hit a double 2, I think, and a double 10 basically out of nowhere. And that really got them in it. And they were starting to get really, really nervous. You need to get 8. You're still 2 away. It's not like you can just stumble and hit one double. There's still work to do. And then in leg 12, the Americans were ahead for quite a big part of the leg. 140, I think, from Clayton. Sets up and then a 95-ish or something from Kenny. What does he leave? 1-4-1 again. What does Johnny Clayton do again? Treble 20 in the middle, treble 19 in the middle, and treble 12 bang in the middle. 1-4-1 killer outs, a pair of them. That made it 7-5. And suddenly from the Americans, I'm not going to do that now. Just give me a minute. The Americans thinking, oh, we've got 6-6 and we've got them on the ropes. It was suddenly 7-5 out of nowhere. The momentum was completely with Wales. And then what does Johnny Clayton do after hitting this 1-4-1 finish? Bangs in a 140. What does Nick Kenny do? Bangs in a 140. What does Johnny Clayton do? Bangs in a 140. And suddenly they're on 81 after 9 darts. They won it, I think, in not the next turn, 13 or 14. And they won that game 8-5. And they deserve to be there. Yes, they did tighten up a little bit, but you're playing good players. The Americans played really, really well. There isn't an exact definition for scrappy scoring, but it's something like a big single, a perfect dart in the treble, and then some sort of miss. So a 1 or a 5 on a 20, or a 7 or a 3 on a 19, and it just kind of caps those scores at a high 70s or a low 80s. Against mere mortals, that's a decent chunk out of your score. When you play in the ferret, that's major problems. And so some of those loose darts, it cost them over time. And this is what happens when you build a big lead. Like, you can afford to play kind of a little bit rubbish for a chunk, and that's what happened. And they were able to absorb something, little bit of magic, a big bit of magic from Johnny Clayton to make it 7-5, and it fell over from there. So those were the 4 round of 16 games. Really, really fun. I did feel, I wanted Scotland to win, I will say that. But I did feel a bit bad for the Norwegians towards the end there. They were just getting absolutely crushed. And that's a little bit unfortunate. It's not over for today. The complete round of 16 gets done today, so there's 4 more games tonight. I believe it starts 7:15 local time if you're in the UK. That is early afternoon for me. I hope I've got parenting duties in a minute. But I hope to be back to watch all of those games. And we do kick off with an absolute corker. Belgium did a Houdini to get out of their group, and they've got a really tough draw. They're against the defending champions, Northern Ireland. Mike De Decker is playing tremendously, arguably one of the best players in the tournament so far. I mean, it's only been a couple of games, and Northern Ireland haven't played yet. But we'll see how Dimi van der Berg goes. We see flashes of it. We see flashes of the goodness. We see flashes of like, oh my God, I could maybe take a leg off him nowadays, which is not gonna be enough against the 2 players that they're playing against. Germany and Czech Republic, again, 2 of the strongest teams in the groups. It's not a seeded game, so they sort of fell between the cracks of the seeds, but they're playing each other. Germany, you would probably say, on balance, if you when you kind of rank the players, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in these doubles. If you've got 2 of the top 3, you're probably going to be favourite. And no disrespect to Adam Gaulas, but I think he is a semi-distant 4th. He scored very, very well. We'll see what he does in the longer format and under great pressure. And of course, Germany at home, so the crowd is going to be behind him big time. But that should be a great game. I'm expecting a close one with that. I do hope Belgium and Northern Ireland is close. I think if Dimi basically has a bit of a mare, it's not going to be close, obviously. But if he, even just the supporting role, kind of like, I keep forgetting his name, the Latvian guy who's still in the tournament, he just played well. Just support. You don't need to be averaging 100. Just getting those 97s, no like nightmare turns, and the occasional double here and there, or a good setup if you don't, you're on 1-4-1 and you leave 24 or something. That's a really, really good shot, and that's good support play for the senior player. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. The 2 Lukes are then in action in the 3rd game, England versus Spain. Cristo Reyes is a tremendous player. I hope he has more success in the singles tournaments in the PDC. At the moment, he is not obviously going to be favoured in this game. It's going to be 1-2 England, 3-4 in terms of preference Spain, but you never know. The 2 Lukes didn't really mesh last year. There's been a lot of talk about how they're more of a team this year. I think they're going to take it a bit more seriously. They probably thought they could waltz through. They went out of this last year. So they're going to make sure, super duper make sure, that doesn't happen. Spain probably do have it in them. One time in, I don't know, 5 times in 100 or something. I think it'll be a massive, massive, huge, super big, huge upset if Spain win that game. England should win fairly comfortably. And then to finish off the round and the evening, the Netherlands versus Sweden. I had a bit of a crazy comment on my preview video saying Wessel Nijman and Kevin Boots might be a better team currently. But obviously NVG is an absolute Hall of Fame legend, and Guian van Veen is hopefully maybe rounding into a little bit of form. You would have taken them to win the whole thing fairly easily, probably, if this had been in January, but it isn't, and Guian van Veen hasn't been playing his best. Jeffrey de Graaf is really ultra solid. He can average over 100 for a long time. We've seen this on the floor, and Oscar Lukuziak is a very, very solid operator. Again, if you're ranking those players and you've got the 4th player, you can't be favourite, and you're going to have to play out your skin to win that game. Which is possible. Again, the likelihood is the Dutch are going to win, possibly in the, like we've seen the 8-4, the 8-5 range, where the other team has really done quite a good job in getting into the match. But that quality, that elite quality, just pushes them over. All right, I can see people are getting slightly restless. I do actually need to leave the house. But thank you very much for watching. I'm Alex Mack. This is LastDartTV. I hope you're enjoying the tournament. It's one of my favourite ones. I've been enjoying making these videos and talking about the games. If you agree with me, put it in the comments. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.